At the same time, Saagar, why don't you give us this update on Puerto Rico?
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. So President Biden last night, let's put this up there on the screen, actually went ahead and issued a waiver to Puerto Rico on the Jones Act. This is something that I've talked about previously on the show. One of the, I think, rarer instances where I would find myself against organized labor, which is basically the Jones Act requires, as I've explained previously, that goods between U.S. ports have to originate in a U.S. port. Part of the problem with oil and with diesel is that many times tankers, depending on where they originate, it can make it much more expensive in order to have to touch a U.S. port before carrying on to another U.S. port. The perfect example, and the true haters of the Jones Act, are Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. Makes sense. U.S. territories and or states, which are much farther away from the mainland. So it becomes more expensive. You could conceivably have tankers that are from elsewhere carrying necessary supplies that need to dock and have something that they literally need, but according to the law, literally could not do it.
And the idea behind it is this protects American jobs.
You know, there's a good impetus behind it. It's from the 1930s. It's a protectionist piece. It's a protectionist piece of legislation. You can understand exactly why it was made at that time in terms of the context of global shipping. Even today, I think some sort of law that keeps the spirit of it and is updated for global shipping.
It needs to be updated.
I completely agree, which is, I'm not saying we should get rid of it and that any port anywhere should always be allowed into the U.S. Absolutely not. We should do everything possible to protect U.S. shipping. There is, however, very credible evidence to show that it does drive up prices, especially of gas and diesel, in terms of regional variability. It's part of the reason why Californians at your gas prices are so high. And it's one of those things that could have knocked maybe 20, 30 cents off the gallon if the president was willing to do it. So he has not been willing to do it for the mainstream U.S. or mainland U.S. But in this case, it was a good action that he went ahead and waived it for right now, because there was this tanker full of diesel, Krystal, on an island, the island of Puerto Rico, which literally had no power for millions of people and then was lacking necessary supplies in order to power their grid. They have this tanker with diesel sitting off the coast, and according to U.S. law, it was not allowed to dock. So over the next couple of months, they will be allowed to get diesel and or oil from, or really anything from wherever which is nearby. It depends on whether it expires, but I did think it was an important thing to bring to the audience to just show you that there are these little things like quotas in law, which the president has immense control over, which in the middle of a disaster, like we shouldn't even have to wait 4 days. Like, I don't know why it waited a week for this to even happen. It should be automatic.
It was unconscionable how long this took to ultimately get this waiver through. And remember when there was that hacking and there was a pipeline that was shut down previously? So when that happened, there was a Jones Act waiver like that. And now when it's Puerto Rico and, you know, the way they're always ignored and treated like second-class citizens, then it takes days and days and days, and it takes the governor having to beg them. It takes... Larry Summers and Jason Furman actually were like chirping up with like, what the hell is going on here? You have to ultimately get this done. And they did. I'm glad they did. I don't know why it took so long. Jeff Stein he did a phenomenal job reporting on this, raising the issue to start with. I think that helped to create the pressure on the administration that ultimately forces this through. His latest report where he says that they will approve that legal waiver, the way he sets it up is he says, listen, images of this ship idling off the coast of the island circulated on social media this week as Puerto Rico's governor demanded action, expressed alarm about the impact of the delay on critical facilities damaged by Hurricane Fiona, including wastewater treatment plants, public hospitals, and emergency centers. Many of these facilities lacking electricity in the storm's aftermath need fuel for generators that provide an alternate power source. Island advocates have emphasized the administration granted a waiver to the Jones Act after a Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, that was what I was just referring to, led to outages in May, saying there is no reason a similar waiver could not be granted in this case, urging officials to move more quickly. The administration was like, oh, well, we've got to go through a process. We got to make sure there's not another ship that can do it, and there's all these boxes we can check. Yeah, if you wanted to get that done, you could get it done like that, which ultimately is what happened. I have no idea why it took so long.
It's sitting across the thing for days. Like, just let the damn ship dock. The president has unilateral authority to do this.
People have been through, I mean, from the electrical grid, and then there's issues with, you know, now sanitation, wastewater treatment plants, just clean drinking water, hospitals, all just basic things. If this could provide a little bit of comfort and support, I don't know why it wasn't done immediately.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's bad that it took so long, but I did at least want to give
They did at least take the right action in the end.
Thank you, President Biden, for doing this. Now, consider doing it for everybody, and let's lower gas prices in the state of California.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.